episode 2. Last episode, we talked a little bit about our experience growing up with money, how money was for us.
Yes, and how our family mentality influenced us today and how we understand money today.
Exactly.
It was an interesting episode. If you didn't check, I would suggest you to go back and listen to that one.
Yep. Since our podcast is going to focus primarily on, financial independence, coming out FI, right? I wanted to talk a little bit about what financial independence is. Some people might have different ideas about it, but I at least want to discuss how we feel about financial independence.
Yes.
So we read some articles. One of them was Mr. Money Mustache. I'm pretty sure anybody you ask who is in the financial independence space will talk about Mr. Money Mustache. He talked about the shockingly simple math behind early retirement. How did you feel about that? Were you kind of surprised at his breakdown of the numbers? How he said, if you save 64% of your income, you can retire in 10 years. How does that make you feel as somebody who might want to reach financial independence?
Yeah, while I was reading his article, I thought it was really interesting to see that there was a math behind all this theory of, because when you think about retiring early, it sometimes seems like philosophical, almost like if you have an alternative type of life, you can achieve that. But after reading his article and seeing almost an equation behind all that, and I was like, okay, that is a path to achieve it. It's not something so mystical or abstract.
Yeah, I think once people realize how much math determines this, it's very laid out, very clear. If you save 100% of your income, you can retire now. Or, well, if your living expenses are 0% of your income, then you could retire now. Like, you can literally know that you're going to retire in 11 years.
Yes, and while I was reading his article, something that was highlighted for me was when he said that your savings rate is determined entirely by two things: how much you take home each year and how much you can live on.
Exactly.
So it's basically how much. He don't talk about making a lot of money. He doesn't even talk about people who make 6 figures each year. He's talking more about how much you actually make in the job you have right now and how much you can expand monthly.
Yeah.
And that's how you can base on your probability of retiring early and how you can achieve that.
A general rule is, and he mentions it in his blog post, you can withdraw 4% of your retirement if it's invested, in like a stock market index fund or something. You can take 4% every year and never touch your principal. You can just live off of the interest. But if you say you're going to spend $30,000 a year for the rest of your life, then you save to have 4% be $30,000, then you need to live at that level forever. You can't
increase your spending.
You can't just be like, hey, I'm going to spend $100,000.
Yeah, that was on point in the article that he say a family, for example, that makes $50,000 in a year and they save 10% of the income. He says they are actually better than most of people, but they are still, he call it pretty bad, because they still need to work 50 years to be able to retire. That's most of more than half the population, because most of people make 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 a year, and they need to save 10% of that to be able to retire 51.
Right. And
that sounds pretty scary.
It does sound pretty scary. It makes you really reconsider how much you're spending and how much it's worth for you, what you're spending. If you go out to dinner 3 times a week and you spend $300 a month, it doesn't seem like that much, but that's an extra 5-10% that you can be saving towards retirement if you didn't do that.
Yeah, I think that's the big secret behind all the articles that we read to prepare for this podcast, and also that we have been learning more in general. It's about how much you can save and how much you can lower your spending. So one of the articles, for example, says somebody avoid using their money to pay for coffee, Starbucks, or cable TV, or anything like that, how much they can save, and all the money could go to retiring, could go to some kind of investment.
Right, I think
to help them to retire.
I think that was the Mr. Money Mustache one, where he said when you lower your spending, it actually has like a twofold benefit, because when you lower your spending, then if you can live at that baseline, you lower your baseline of living, if you can have that be sustainable, that changes how much you need to save in total in order to live off of that.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's the big first step that everyone should start thinking about, how much they spend per month and how much they can save, like what they can cut.
What they can cut, exactly.
And most of the articles, they always start with the food.
Yeah, food is a big spending.
Yes, because eating out in restaurants are really expensive.
It is, yeah.
Really expensive right now. And also, if you start planning your meals, like we almost every day bring food to work.
Yeah.
We basically never go to a restaurant to get food to bring to work. We always cook at home, or at least bring some snacks.
Exactly,
We're
yeah.
like too lazy to cook. But we always bring something, and that helps cutting the cost of food outside.
Oh yeah, because
And when we go out to eat outside, yeah, it's always inside your spending budget.
Yeah.
That we create to allow us to enjoy our weekends or whatever we want.
Yeah.
So I think like sitting down and evaluating their lifestyle and understanding what they can cut and where they can save could help them to this math how to retire early.
Another thing that we looked at the Mr. Money Mustache one, but we also read an article from Choose FI, which is also a big player in this space. And one thing that they want to kind of emphasize is that lowering your budget, trying to be financially independent and retiring early, all that does not need to be super restrictive. There are some restrictions, obviously, because you can't just say you're going to live off of $10,000 a year and then go out to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's about forming your life to spend on things that you want, things that you care about. If people from work invite you to go out and you're just going out to be nice, you don't really want to, and you spend $50 as opposed to, renting a movie and watching it with like your family or your significant other. It's kind of trying to create the life that you want.
Yes, and understanding what is value for you or not. And it's interesting, this topic, because in psychology, one of the things that therapeutics always try to teach people, and is also always a big lesson, is how to say no. People have a hard time, I personally have a hard time saying no, but most of the time it's not only saying no to others, but saying no to yourself. Because sometimes you want something, or you want to do something, or somebody comes to you and asks, can you do this for me, or can you go there for me, and you really don't want to, but you're so scared of saying no and what the consequence of that, and you end up doing it, and then when you see you are spending so much money, you're not even happy.
Exactly.
You don't feel satisfied, you don't feel complete. And a lot of people go through that feeling when they have this desire to buy as a symptoms of, after buying this, I'm going to feel fulfilled.
And it doesn't happen. Right.
And then they just keep buying. I know this is also like a psychological disorder, but in our topic here, we're trying to talk about how we can learn with our behavior and how we can change that to make us have the life we want to. Because sometimes most of us are miserable at their works, hate their work so much, but at the same time we don't have a way out.
Exactly.
And that's when we kind of feel
trapped, stuck.
We kind of feel
you're
trapped.
Like in the rat race, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in the article, he said the most important thing is cutting what we spend, not how much extra you can make.
Yeah, I do think that there is some benefit to making more money. If you can make more money and you don't increase how much you spend, then that's just more money that you can save, right?
But that also influences a lot in your style of life. For example, if somebody already works 40 hours a week, 8 hours a day, and they don't like their job, by the end of the day, they're more tired, more stressed. They don't have energy to have another part-time job they don't like. So I think like what he says make a lot of sense. If you are in this phase where you don't like your job but you need to do it because you need to pay your bills, the most important thing to start will be cutting your expenses.
Just again, the double benefit of cutting your expenses is that your ideal number that you need to save in order to become financially independent is less.
Yes.
So we've gone through this, but I don't think we actually like defined what financial independence is. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? There was this blog post article written by Time Value Millionaire, and they talk about the different types of FI.
But I think before we go to each type, I like the general definition when they say that financial independence means when you can afford finally a retirement, when you can finally retire.
So that you don't have to depend on a paycheck.
Exactly.
In order to meet your standard of living.
Yes, if you have a standard of living that you need a certain amount per year to live, and you consider yourself retired and have the money coming to you without working, at least normal, what we call normal jobs.
Like 40 hours a week,
Yes.
jobs you might not like.
Exactly, that's when you achieve what they call financial independence.
There's this big movement of the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early. It doesn't even need to be like completely retired, like sitting on a beach all day, golfing. We can still have things that we put ourselves to work for, but they can be things that you enjoy.
Yeah.
Maybe passion projects, or maybe you just like working at fast food and, they don't pay a ton of money, but you want to do that just because of the energy,
Yeah, I think financial independence is basically the opportunity you have to be free of worries, free of like, I already have the money that I need to survive, and I will have this for a long time, hopefully until I die, after 100 years old.
Yeah.
That's the plan. But you can do whatever you want with your time, with your free time. That even means creating projects, traveling, that means spending more time with your family, that means helping your kids raise your grandkids, whatever you have in your head.
Yeah.
Just more time to do whatever you like, without being so locked to, I need to be in this company by this time.
Yeah.
And I hate it, and all that weird no. But I think that's the good part about being financially independent.
Yeah.
The freedom behind it to do whatever I want.
Exactly. We're going to talk a little bit about this blog post from Time Value Millionaire. They say there's 5 different types of financial independence. So let's talk a little bit about the first one, lean FI, FI, financial independence FI. What do you think about this one? Like, what are the limitations of it? What is it?
So basically, what they define as lean FI is when you have enough investments that can cover your essential expenses. So you already put away some money that give you back to cover your rent, to cover for housing, food, utilities. But you live really basically. You cannot count with money to travel, or let's say fun money, or even emergencies.
Right.
I wonder, because it's only your essential expenses.
Yeah. I don't really know how I feel about lean FI. I think this is for people who are absolutely desperate to quit their job. I really hate my job so much, I can't even get out of bed in the morning. And they can retire, but they only have enough to cover the absolute basic essentials, like food, beans and rice,
Yeah.
like housing. You can never really, there's no money in here for vacations. I guess that's why they call it lean, right? You're trying to cut everything that's non-essential out.
I think the lean FI can work as a first step.
Okay.
You have enough to cover for your spend, and then you can start looking for alternatives. Or even between lean FI and barista FI, that we're going to talk a little later, where you can do a part-time, or you can start investing in projects. I don't think anybody can live for a long time as a lean FI. I don't think that's realistic.
Right. At one point, you're going to want to go out for drinks. You're going to want to go on a vacation. Like you have all this time now, you can research all these beautiful places, but you can't go to any of them.
Exactly.
Yeah. So then there's regular FI, which is basically having enough income coming in from investments that it just covers your current lifestyle. I kind of like regular FI. right?
Yeah, I feel like regular FI is really associated with the idea of traditional retirement, where you already save enough to maintain the current lifestyle you have been living for years.
Yeah.
I think it can be useful if you're 100% sure you're not going to increase your lifestyle.
Yeah, I feel like that's the hard part. That's going to be the hard part for people because, I mean, your current lifestyle is adding in work. You know, you have 40 hours of work a week that you are occupied. What, with these extra 40 hours a week that you might have, maybe even more if you count in, you know, they always include breaks, drive time.
Driving, yeah.
The time to get prepared to go.
Especially if you live in the city and have hours of traffic.
Yeah, I can relate. You know, I worry about these people because you really have to make sure you are comfortable with your living situation now. Because if you're just making enough to cover the basics, I mean, not cover the basics, cover your current living expenses, then retirement isn't like a dream that you are just traveling all the time, you know? The money's not there.
Yeah, because you're going to live in the same exact way you're living right now
Exactly.
while you're working.
Uh-huh.
And I think that could work if you're a minimalist person by nature, if you're just the way you are, if you're frugal and you're 100% sure you don't care about spending, eating out, or even traveling.
Yeah.
I think that could work perfectly.
Yeah.
If that's your personality.
Right.
But I think if you're the kind of person who is more adventurous and like exploring and like traveling,
and you're like waiting for retirement to be able to do these things.
Yes. Unless you can do it if you choose, I think, to travel to places that are cheap, not like Europe, France, or Italy, I assume. It'd be really expensive.
Right.
And that would definitely increase your expenses. But if you prefer to travel to places that are not so expensive, I assume you can do as a regular FI. All will depend how you balance all these costs.
So then there's Fat Fi, which is where you can like have enough money coming in that will support a higher living expense. So, I mean, I feel like this one's ideal, right? Everybody always has this dream of retiring and I want to buy a boat and go fishing all the time, or like I'm going to go to France for 3 months or and anywhere in Europe, you know, but it's hard to reach.
Yeah, I think that's the hard part about the Fat Fi. It's because it will take a long time to achieve it, or you are going to live in a really low budget for a long time if you want to retire really early. It's really hard goal, but depends on how determined you are.
Exactly. I mean, Fat Fi is, if you had the choice and like, hey, they're going to take the same amount of time, the same amount of effort, which they won't, you know, lean, regular, and Fat Fi will all take different levels of, you know, saving rates.
Yeah.
I think Fat Fi would be ideal because, like, of course you want your standard of living to be increased during retirement.
I just think the Fat Fi is hard to be the first step.
Oh, yeah.
I think lean FI or regular FI, you can start as doing like that, and when you achieve it, you eventually can start saving more, or even have side gigs to become Fat Fi eventually.
Yeah.
Just because if you are right now in a position where you don't like your job, or you want so much to change your lifestyle, it is impossible for you to start as a Fat Fi.
Exactly.
Because you just want to get out of where you are.
Yeah.
So I think the lean FI could be the first step.
So then there's Barista Fi.
That's my favorite.
That's your favorite one?
Yes.
Okay, so it's like when a portion of your investments can support some percentage of your living expenses, but then you work like a part-time job to cover the rest of your expenses. So why do you think this is your favorite one?
Because I think that's more achievable.
Okay.
At least for me right now.
Yeah.
When I think about my current situation, I think like if I could start investing and some of that start returning in a way that can cover 40, 50%, even more of my expense, and the rest I could just do a part-time job, an easy job, just to cover the rest until I start saving more. I think that's, for me, make a lot of sense.
So maybe you like save up enough to be lean Fi, but then mix up lean Fi with Barista Fi so that your barista job, your part-time job, can just pay for like vacations.
Yeah, and I like the idea, like the barista idea come from people who work for Starbucks.
Yeah.
Because when you work for Starbucks part-time, you have right for some benefits.
Oh, okay.
So people, even you're working part-time, you can have health insurance, you can have help with tuition reimbursement.
Okay.
So that's one advantage of young people who go to college
Yeah.
when they start working at Starbucks.
Huh.
Do 20 hours per week and still have benefits.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why I like this idea, because I'm just committing 20 hours. I'm not committing
40, 80, whatever
I'm just committing
it is.
4 or 5 hours per day, not even every day. I can split through the week. So I can save, but I can also have free time to enjoy my life and also invest in projects.
Exactly.
And I think that's most important.
Yeah.
So we have this project now, the podcast, and I have other side projects. So if I have the free time to invest and make it grow, that would just help me to achieve the life I want.
Exactly.
And
building
I think
the
that,
life you want.
Yeah, and I think that will feel a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, I can save some now, have some expense cover per month, do a 20 hours job, whatever that can be, and just invest in other things until the other things start giving you money back.
Yeah, of course, right?
I think that's why it's my favorite.
So the last one is Coast-Fi. We were talking about this one. This one is when you have enough in retirement that if you never invested again, you would have enough by the time you retire to support your standard of living.
I think that's the dream. I think the Coast-Fi is like the most dream you can achieve as a financial independent.
Yeah.
You already have enough right now. You can stop investing. You can put your money to work for you in other ways, in projects or wherever you want, but you already have enough there for start coming back to you.
Yeah. The thing is that like for this to work, you need to start early.
Yeah.
You need to start really early because time in the market is the main factor in determining how well off you do. Because there's limits to how much you can put in your 401k, your IRA. You can't just suddenly decide that you're going to put $500,000 in 1 year.
But that's the thing that one of the other articles talk about filling the gap. Is like you invest in not only 401k accounts or Roth accounts, but also high savings account where you can put in more than the 20,000 that's allowed the retirement accounts and make that work as a retirement account for you and have investments coming up.
So we can talk about those. We can talk about how to bridge the gap because in all of these examples, what we've talked about so far is putting your money into like a 401k, an IRA. But the problem is that you can't start taking out of your 401k, your IRA until you're 59 and a half. Mm-hmm. Otherwise you incur like penalties, pay an extra 10% above what you're already paying because it's an early withdrawal fee. Mm-hmm. And when you're doing all this math and you're trying to figure out how much money do I need, you're not taking into account this 10% fee. If you say, hey, I reached my FI number at 40, you can't just start taking out of your 401k, your retirement. I really liked this article by the physician philosopher, and he talks about the ways to bridge the early retirement gap because I mean, I don't want to pay an extra 10% penalty.
Yes.
Right? So you can save in an IRA, a retirement account, but how do you bridge the gap between the time when you are actually able to be done working and when you can actually start taking out of your retirement accounts without penalty?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because the first one he brings up in his article is what he called the cash reserve. It's the idea of you having 1 or 2 years of expenses saving in form of cash, and that will help you to not touch your retirement investments and having kind of 2 years saved up.
Yeah, but in that case, if you only have 1 or 2 years saved up, that means you would have to reach your FI number, your retirement, at no earlier than, 57 and a half? Mm-hmm.
But the way he says, like, you have this cash reserve working for you in some type of investment.
Okay.
So you save up 2 years, you put in these cash reserves and put it to work for you. So invest this money.
But it has to be in something liquid. It would have to be in something liquid. It can't be in a retirement account.
No, it's not. It's some kind of high
yield savings account. Okay.
Or some kind of account that you can invest.
Okay.
Or even, I wonder if you even can put in stock market. These two, you just, if you know how much you spend per year, you can save up to 2 years and put all this money in stock market or funds or whatever that can work for you.
Okay, yeah, and I think that's his number 2. Number 2 is a taxable account. So a taxable account it's a non-retirement account. You can invest your money to be in like the stock market.
Okay.
The thing with that is that you do still pay taxes. You put in after-tax money into it, and you also pay 15 to 20% in taxes when you take it out. And then if you have it for for less than a year, you have to pay short-term capital gains tax on it. If you just put your money into if you are like, okay, I'm going to retire next year, I'm going to put 2 years worth of expenses in there. If you touch your money before it's in there for 1 year, you're paying extra penalties on it. But they are saying that this 15 to 20% tax that you're paying on the money from your taxable account is much less than what you would be paying from when you were earning money. So, there's not a lot of awesome options for bridging the gap.
I don't think the system will want you to lose money.
Exactly.
So they're always going to have a way for us to pay some kind of taxes or some kind of money to them.
Yeah.
I think interesting in this account is to just make it easier for you to take the money out if you need.
Yeah.
Because if you just need to wait for a year, it's not so bad as I can just take the money after 59. So I think it's about, okay, I need to pay 50 to 20, but at least I can take it out my money.
And he was saying that some people have stopped completely investing into their retirement accounts. Once you reach a certain number, say you reach Coast Fi or Lean Fi in your retirement accounts, then you can just start investing completely in a taxable account, because then that money's more liquid. Hopefully it goes up, but you can never, for a short time frame, you can never just guarantee that the stock market's going to go up, right?
Yeah.
You could end up start taking it out in a recession, which would be kind of bad, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
True.
And then number 3, he said partial FIRE, which is, I think, one of your favorites, right? It's kind of the same as barista FI, where you have enough money where maybe you don't need to put into retirement anymore. Maybe you have other investments that are making money and you can just work part-time or 75% of the time.
Yeah, I think it's interesting about this option is when you still need to work.
Yeah.
To have enough money, but you have more time to work in things you don't hate that much. You can have a part-time job as doing something interesting that you like to do, or you can even have another type of business or projects going on that can bring you some money. It's about ideal work-life balance. I think that's what this option brings, and I think it's also the option that the barista also talks about. It's finding a way to balance your life in a way that makes you happier.
Yeah. So that you don't wake up hating work all the time.
Exactly. And not having such a hard time thinking, I need to work 40 hours because no way I can have any other type of money. So no, you can save to a point where you just need to work part-time. And then keep saving until one time you don't need to work anymore.
Right. I mean, because if you think about it, if you are responsible with your money, a good portion of your money that you work for will go to retirement, will go to paying a house. But if you take care of all of that beforehand, then you can probably afford to work a job that doesn't require so much stress, so much time commitment. You are able to take the lower paycheck because you're already set.
Or so much loyalty. I think what stressed me out most of the time in the works that I have done, it's how much they expect from you and how much that will consume your life even outside of the working hours.
Okay.
Because you still need to plan meetings, you still need to plan how you're going to talk with your boss. So I think this one is interesting just because you don't need to be so committed to your work.
Yeah.
A part-time is not going to ask you so much of your outside job
Exactly.
hours.
It's probably not going to be a job that requires it either, you know, like if you're working at Starbucks or McDonald's, whatever.
And you can do whatever you want outside of the job hours.
Yeah.
Stuff that you really like.
Exactly.
That's why I think it's interesting.
I'm going to skip number 4 because I don't think this talks about accessing your 457 in early retirement. I don't have a 457, and I think it's only available to some, like a small portion of the people.
Can you just tell us what 457 means in general?
So I actually had to look it up. 457 is a type of retirement that's offered to, I think, like government employees and then maybe some other people. I mean, this guy's a physician, so he probably has access to a 457. It's kind of just like, you know, a 403B is basically a retirement plan, but it's for like education people. But apparently a 457 can be accessed early. So if you have a 457, look into that. You know, I don't have one.
That's your case. That's what you look.
Number 5, I've heard about this before. It's using Roth conversion ladders. So basically a Roth conversion ladder, it is when you take a retirement plan. So say you take like a 401k, 403b, and you convert it into an IRA, a traditional IRA. So you take your employee-sponsored retirement plan and convert it into an IRA, and you turn it into a Roth IRA. So when you convert a traditional IRA into a Roth IRA, you pay the taxes on it right there.
So it's like 3 steps. You take out from your employee to an IRA, and then from an IRA to a Roth.
Roth IRA.
Okay.
Yeah, Roth IRA. Because Roth means that you pay taxes now, you don't pay taxes when you take it out.
Okay.
When you take a traditional 401k, 403b, whatever, and you convert it into an IRA, if you have $100,000 in your 401k, you can convert all of that into an IRA. You pay taxes when you convert to a Roth.
Okay.
So Roth means that you're paying taxes now, but you don't pay taxes later.
Okay.
The really cool thing about this is that after 5 years, you can access all of your money in your Roth IRA without penalty.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Because you already pay taxes on it. So the government's kind of like, okay, but 1 to 4 years, you do pay a penalty.
Oh, it's
but
after 5 years.
If you wait 5 years, you can do whatever you want with that money.
That's not bad.
That's really not bad.
If you compare about 5 years to 6 months.
30 years, exactly. It's not that bad. So I think this one's kind of my favorite. The only problem is that once you start taking your money out from your Roth IRA, it's no longer in the market to make money.
So the money basically stopped growing.
Once you fill up your 401k to a number that you think is good, you need to make sure you have enough money in your Roth IRA to bridge that whole gap. You know, but I do think it is kind of the best option. You can avoid the penalties, but you can still be in the market.
So, for example, let's say you have $100,000 saved in a Roth IRA, and you take out $10,000.
Yeah.
The $9,000 that's left there is still going to be growing?
It can still make money.
Okay, I just don't make money from the $10,000 I took it out.
Right.
Okay.
So I like this option a lot because there's not an age limit, you know, it's not like you have to wait till you're 59 and a half. It's not like you have to wait till you're 49 and a half. It's from whatever time it goes into a Roth IRA. After 5 years, you can do whatever you want with that money.
Yeah. I think that could be a good solution for people who plan on retiring early.
Yeah.
And have some money coming. Because even a Roth IRA, if it's still growing, you can live just with the extra money that's growing.
With this Roth conversion ladder, I mean, you're still paying taxes, but to me, I don't know, it seems like a better option. Because you probably have maybe a match from your employer, you know, for when you're working there, putting into a traditional 401k. And then you can convert all of that, and then you just pay taxes on it right then and there. But then all the money that's there is like yours.
And the money that keeps growing if the investment is also yours, you need to pay tax on that.
I'll have to look into that. We'll have to update. We'll do a whole episode on like IRAs, 401ks.
And that's also good to remind our listeners that we're not specialists.
No, we're not specialists.
We are here trying to learn as much as Dan. And we're here just to share our opinions and share what we have been learning so far, and hopefully helping each other and motivating each other to retire early.
Exactly.
That's the goal of a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
I think that was an interesting episode in general, just to explain what financial independence is and how we can in some ways achieve the gap. And I would like to finish the episode just telling people to look more about that, do their own research, and discuss with us about that in the comments. They can leave comments, reviews about this episode. And we can always go back to this topic and talk more about it.
Oh, I plan to, for sure. I mean, there needs to be a whole episode on investing.
Yes.
Like, what is a 401k? What is an IRA? All that.
And in our next episode, we are going to be talking about geo arbitrage.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a really important topic that can make a lot of difference when you're trying to live low and saving money. That can be definitely an alternative for people out there that can move, that can plan their lives around that.
Exactly.
They're not so
locked into an area. Yeah.
But if you're not, I think geo arbitrage can definitely make a huge difference.
All right, next episode, geo arbitrage.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
Yeah, I hope it was informative. We kind of put our own little opinions on all this stuff, but I mean, that's why you listen, right?
Yeah, so if you enjoy it, please leave a review. You can also see the record of this episode on our YouTube channel. It's the same name as our podcast, Coming Out at 5.
Coming Out at 5.
See you guys later.
Bye.